10-year-old Christina is finding school a struggle and her work is suffering.
Because I'm quite big for my age, people call me threatening. It makes me feel a bit left out and I can't really join in with them. It's getting to the point where I can't handle it anymore.
Christina has a very explosive temper. She's quite confrontational and can be rude. She is finding it very difficult getting on with certain children in the class, and that's affecting her work level at school.
She's not the only one with problems.
People in my class always take the mick out of me because of my glasses and my teeth. And usually I go and tell the teacher, but sometimes I can't control my anger and I just call them names as well.
These are intelligent children, but their emotional needs may mean that they will not perform well enough in an education system that seems to value their IQ above all else.
The obsession with intelligence as some kind of monolithic, God-given or gene-given, centralized, general-purpose reservoir of fixed mental resource is one of the most pernicious psychological mythologies that we've fallen prey to this century.
The things that matter in education don't seem to have changed much in 50 years.
Now, this is a test to find out what you can do by yourselves. You are not to look at the person's work next to you, you are not to talk, and you are not to copy any answers. You've got 45 minutes, you may start.
Successive governments have taken increasing control of the school curriculum, and there's been a growing obsession with measuring and testing performance. In addition to public examinations, children are now routinely tested at the ages of 7, 11, and 14. Whilst appreciating the extra information, parents have very mixed reactions to the emotional impacts.
I have found it unbelievably frightening. At 3.5, my child is expected to write her name, to know her numbers, to know her alphabet, to be able to do things in sequence, to be able to draw a picture of mummy. And this is at 3.5, and these are to get into the schools.
Gosh, that was just such a shock for me, being American, where you just lived in a neighborhood and those were the schools you went to. Now she's been on waiting lists since she was, a year, which I was then told that was too late. I should have done it from birth, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
I had one friend who was going for the assessments for all the different schools. This child vomited at each assessment because there was so much pressure for this child to get into the right schools. This can't be right.
8-year-old Jake is having his IQ tested. He claims to be bored at school, and his mother, Karen, is concerned about whether he's in the right place.
Is that right? Yes. At school, I am getting very bored because of the work is very easy, and I just go through it really quickly, and I have nothing to do after.
Brilliant. You've got a very good visual memory, Jake. Last one, absence. Your absence has been noted, young Jake. Absence.
I want to, prove that I'm clever. I want to prove that I can get harder work in school.
I'm going to give you one more. I didn't think you were going to get that. How about beginning? Start at the beginning and go on to the end.
He's not at all challenged. He comes home from school regularly and says, we're doing 8 take away 5, and I don't want to go to school. And what we want to avoid is a situation where he doesn't want to go to school because he's feeling so bored.
Although Jake is something of a special case, parents have been flooding to get their children IQ tested, hungry for evidence that their child needs special help to get ahead. In many cases, it seems their concern is unnecessary.
We get parents coming through our door who are really hell-bent on coming out with an IQ in the stratosphere. And I think what they need to realise is that the qualities their children possess, which include the ability to stick at tasks, to focus, to carry things through to their conclusion, to really get their act together, to make the best of what talents they've got, including their interpersonal skills, are as important, if not more so, than just an IQ figure.
In fact, there may be more to intelligence than just IQ.
69.
Is the right answer. Right, well done. There is increasingly a field of research which lends support to the view that intelligence comes in a variety of different ways, and these include areas that were not previously thought to be the realm of intelligence.
This is the theory of multiple intelligences.
The theory of multiple intelligences basically holds that as a species, human beings have developed 7, 8, 9 or more quite separate ways of thinking, which I call separate intelligences. When we talk about intelligence in school, we're almost always talking about linguistic or logical mathematical intelligence, and those are indeed 2 intelligences, but there also is musical, spatial, bodily kinesthetic.
And there are also 2 personal intelligences, understanding other people and understanding yourself.
Actually, all of us have all of these intelligences. We might say that's the definition of what it means to be a human being, cognitively speaking. But just as we look different from one another and have different personalities and temperaments, no 2 people, not even identical twins, have exactly the same combination, the same blend of intelligences.
Jake's IQ test has gone well.
The tests we've done this afternoon give very good evidence that Jake has well above average intellectual ability. He's probably within the range that most people would describe as gifted. So he's got an IQ in excess of 130, top 2% of the population, so he's a very bright little boy. So we've got a recipe for possible difficulties if you don't give Jake a rich enough educational diet.
Well, is he scholarship potential, do you think?
Yes, absolutely, no doubt at all. I think one of the cautionary elements in assessing for psychologists like me is to balance IQ scores as against other qualities. And in my simplistic terms, you need intelligence because it helps you learn more quickly, but you also need maturity, focus, you need application, you need drive, you need determination, all that kind of stuff.
The truth is that probably a lot of success in life depends upon effort and depends upon finding the right niche, and your psychometric IQ says nothing about the effort that you'll spend, nor does it say anything about whether you'll find a niche that's suited for you. So I think the closer you get to the reality of things, the less useful it is simply to know what number a person's IQ is.
There are very exceptionally able children intellectually who don't get very far because they don't have the emotional maturity. And this is the whole topic of emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence refers to how we manage ourselves, how we handle our relationships. It includes things like self-awareness. Can you work out conflict so that you come to a win-win resolution? Are you the kind of person who's very persuasive? It's fundamental to effective thinking. It's fundamental to effective decision-making. It's fundamental to life. I can't imagine why we don't include it in our school curriculum.
The trouble is that the now overwhelmingly academic demands of the school curriculum mean that there's no room for emotional intelligence. But a few forward-looking schools are trying to carve out the space. At Allendale School in Greenwich, South London, head teacher Dave Edwards is determined to find the time. The school's SATS results are more than adequate, but these 10-year-olds are being given the chance to achieve a lot more. They're taking part in a 3-month course in emotional intelligence, starting with a discussion about what makes them angry.
When people make fun of my glasses because I always wear them, and when they fall off they say you can't see.
And that really must make you feel very upset and angry. So what do you do? What happens when they say things like that?
I just say go away and I run off.
Right. So you kind of run away from it, do you? You ever get even angry and do anything really? No?
No. I've done, well, my brother keeps on saying the same question over and over again, even after I've answered him.
And what do you do when he does that?
I just ignore him or go up to my room or something.
When people take the mick out of my height, that really bugs me because it's a bit really annoying.
Annandale is a school looking to the future. Shortly, its children and teachers will move to a new state-of-the-art school complex in the shadow of the Millennium Dome. Solar-powered heating, a water recycling plant, and ergonomic design are all part of the revolution.
A little bit about it. We just talked about the weight of...
But in a distinctly unforward-looking porter cabin in the playground, some innovation is already underway.
Now, I brought this bag. I wonder what you thought of this bag for. What do I bring this bag here? It's full of sand.
Yeah.
It weighs about 1.5 kilos. It's about the weight of a brain. Feel the weight on it.
Learning about the structure and function of the brain is the starting point to learning emotional intelligence.
Surprised how heavy it is? Yeah. About the weight of a bag of sugar and another half a bag of sugar. 1.5 kilos.
How light your head would be if you didn't have a bag.
Right.
I think it's essential to understand the architecture of the brain in order to realize why emotional intelligence is so important and how it is different fundamentally from academic intelligence, from IQ.
The key lies in understanding the difference between the emotional brain, also known as the limbic system, and the neocortex, the grey, deeply furrowed covering.
When you're talking about IQ, you're talking about abilities that reside in the top of the brain, the neocortex, which is a more recent addition to the brain. When you speak of emotional intelligence, you're talking about a skill set which includes not just the neocortex, but also a much more primitive part of the brain, the limbic system.
And the limbic system basically seems concerned with regulating our emotional states, our drives, our motivations, our needs. The limbic system, or parts of it, for instance, make us look for food when we're hungry, or look for water when we're thirsty, or look for a mate when we want sex.
The limbic system controls the fight or flight response necessary for survival. Perhaps because of this, it has the ability to override the thinking brain, the neocortex.
This is why our emotions are so much stronger in a moment of crisis, or when we perceive a threat, or when we're emotionally upset, why our emotions drive the neocortex, because that is the design that's helped us survive to this moment in history.
Well, the powerhouse of the limbic system is this little structure called the amygdala. The amygdala seems to be particularly involved in the extreme ends of the passions. Anger and violence and aggression on the one hand, but as has recently been shown even in human beings, love and affection. These seem to engage the amygdala somehow in regulating and controlling the activities of other parts of the brain, to direct the need into a constructive action.
Each hemisphere of the brain contains an amygdala, shown here in red, driving emotional impulses.
But sometimes these impulses don't get into the higher center of the brain. They don't get into the part of the brain where you've got time to think about things. They get hijacked. They get hijacked in this place called the amygdala. And that's what happens when we lose control of ourselves and get angry and snap and do the thing that we wish we didn't do afterwards. Swear at somebody or hit somebody or hurt somebody's feelings.
This primitive response very often gets us into trouble. It's an amygdala hijack. You have a sudden emotional reaction. It's very strong, very intense. And when the dust settles, you realize it was very